I was trying to hold your hand through the process. I was trying to hold you accountable. But that wasn't even enough. And it's never going to be enough. I don't care what coach you get, what mentor, what company you go to. If you're unwilling to hold yourself at a greater responsibility than me, than the other person, then it's never going to work. Here we go. Look at that. We played the music all the way through. There was no cutoff. Things are starting out so great today. Like, I'm feeling pumped up. The first official week of 2020. I know some of you haven't really been at it, right? You're like, I'll start Monday. I'm going on a diet so I can eat whatever I want today because I start on Monday. Trust me, I think we all go through that, right? I don't have to work out this week, or I'll start on Monday. It's always a Monday thing. But go ahead and check in as you're coming on board. Good morning, Chris, Caroline, Isabel, Claudia, Marissa, Dorley. Continue to check in. And also, if you hear something that resonates with you, I want you to do one thing for me today. If something resonates with you, and this is what I do with my reading as well. And anytime I listen to an audiobook or I'm on a podcast or listening to certain things, I try to look for the revelation. Okay, so if you have a revelation today, as we go to, as I talk about today's subject, which I'll tell you here in a second, I just want you to type it out. And then I want you to kind of decipher that thought. Why was that such a great revelation for you? Because that could be a content post for you later on today. Now, I'm excited this week, okay? And we're going to talk about the main focus. And it was 2 weeks ago, almost to the day, where I confidently proclaimed that the new 12-week target book would be done by the end of the week. Well, I want to give you a little update. We're starting out the third week and it's still not done, right? How many times have we all done that? Where we set this big proclamation of how things are going to get done, only to realize there's like 100 steps beyond that, right? The main goal was to get this done. But then you realize, well, there's about 100 steps to getting that done. I didn't take into account or consideration how many changes were going to happen. So here I am trying to scramble to get this all done, and I put so much pressure on myself to get this done that I'm not even close to getting done. And now we're entering our third week, and now I'm starting to see the light. Now there's some things that we have to go over, but if I started really thinking about what I needed to do, I needed to revise the explanation, I needed to do the intro, I needed to rewrite the daily journal items, I had to redo the targets for the week, even the redesign and the layout, the illustrations, like those are all major components that I had to realize of that's what it takes to get this done. And it's been a year since we revised this, and I completely forgot. And I think that happens for a lot of us, right? We set these big proclamations and we don't realize there's so much more beyond that it becomes unrealistic and it becomes overwhelming. And it almost makes you leak power because now you're out of integrity. I had a proclamation that this needed to get done by the end of the week, and I didn't even come close. But here's the thing that we have to realize is we are moving towards the target. We are moving towards the goal. What would be worse in this situation if I would have never done anything at all? But we've been working diligently. We've been working daily on the weekends at night. We've been revising and rereading and redoing. So I don't feel so defeated even though I didn't hit my target. But I had to readjust my target. And here's what I want to talk about today. We talk about this thing, the main focus, which is today's topic, the main focus. And I want you to start realizing that, hey, we got to know what's a win for the week. We got to know what's a win for the day. We got to know what's a win, for the quarter and the year. But in order to do that, we have to be very specific about what we want to accomplish, okay? So the reason I failed was because I bit off more than I can chew. I was too confident. And there's nothing wrong with confidence. But I got to also understand that it's got to be achievable and attainable. And I just don't want to have another thing piled onto the list of items that I need to accomplish that never really get close to doing. We've had autoresponder classes, right, where we build up an entire system on autoresponders. And you can see that once we hit a specific goal and we have clear objectives, how easily this can be done. And for the most part, I would say the grand majority of you finished that process where you had your videos, you had your write-ups, you had your email campaigns, and it's all done. And now it gives you a sense of like, wow, if I'm able to just take this big project and chunk it down, because that's what we did for 2 weeks. We chunked down this process. We said we needed 8 videos. If I would have told you, hey, you need to get 8 videos, pick an autoresponder system, write all the emails, and send it out to your clients in 2 weeks, we'd be like, what the hell? Where do I start? It's too overwhelming. But what we did is we chunked it down to miniature items, things that needed to accomplish. We need to learn how to edit. We need to learn how to use a green screen. So we had all these mini time frames. But even then, it became a little overwhelming because we didn't consider the distractions that come along with it and the learning curve for most items. So when I went through this target book, I miscalculated how many things needed to change about the process. But this is what happens often. But there was this famous quote, and then we'll get on to the meat and bones of this conversation. There was a gentleman, all right, from South Africa. His name is Desmond Tutu. And he said, how does one go about eating an elephant? We've heard this quote before, right? But I don't think many of us know the context of what he was really saying. He says, how does one go about eating an elephant? And he simply states, you eat it one bite at a time. And we're like, wow, that's a pretty cool quote. But what does he mean by that? Well, we got to understand who he is first and foremost, right? So we understand how big of a obstacle he had to overcome. He gained world recognition as the opponent of apartheid in South Africa. Okay, so here is a system, a government system that was against what he wanted to achieve. And many people were saying, like, why are you so adamant about going down this road? Like, you may not be able to witness change in your lifetime. It's too big. It's too big to overcome. You just won't get there. And that's where it stems from. How does one go about eating an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. And he realized changed. As a matter of fact, he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984. That's huge. Not only that, he became the first Archbishop of South Africa, which is insane goals, right? From a gentleman that was just like, hey, I'm just going to take it a step at a time, a day at a time, a bite at a time. And he accomplished just that. So many of us right now are in a situation on how do I become a 10 or a $20 million producer? And from where we're standing right now, the obstacle's way too big. The system, right, is engineered against us. The competition's too big. How can I get a $10 million business? Or how do I make a $20 business? And it seems almost impossible, just like it did for me when I started this brokerage. How do I retain agents? How do I recruit agents? How do I continue to build on this agency? Me, 5 years ago, it was nearly impossible. Like, I couldn't even imagine myself here, where I have the systems, the processes, the support, the environment, the training, the motivation, the systemization, and the automation. Like, this is beyond what I thought was possible for me. I was just living day to day. But I had to get clear about my objectives. And I also needed to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. Like this was not going to happen overnight. Your CRM is not going to happen overnight. Hiring an employee is not going to happen overnight. But here's where things need to change. I was stuck in the place of, I will never get there. Versus, what is the thing I can do today? What is my main objective or my main focus for the week? What would my quarter look like if I were to add just this simple billing system into the brokerage? Like, all these things had to change. What would it be like if I would just hire one employee from my accounting department? Like, these are all things that I just had to chunk it down. But I was overwhelmed by the big overall goal that I got stuck. And I continue to get stuck. The vision was clear. I want all this. But then I was overwhelmed by it. So I had to take it a bite at a time, a step at a time, and a day at a time. And now I have a fully functional process where I can now run multiple businesses. And many of you have been stuck on the same goal for many, many months, if not years. I'm going to get my CRM up and running, my database. My follow-up system is going to be unbelievable this year. You know what? I'm going to get my monthly newsletters. This year, it's going to happen. Monthly newsletters must happen. I'm going to farm to my past clients and friends. I'm going to get a transaction coordinator. I'm going to get an employee. The vision is clear. But then we overestimate what we can accomplish, right? There is a famous quote, and it's been used by many, many people, including Bill Gates. And he says, most people overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a month. We overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can accomplish in a decade. This business 10 years ago doesn't look the same. This business a year ago still doesn't even look the same. And this quote has been used by many people. It's been said many ways. But it's, again, we overestimate what we want to accomplish. So for many of us, it's like, I got to get my CRM system up and running. It's going to happen this week. Well, you're failing to see the 100 steps to get there. So how about we just start attacking 5 steps at a time so that we can continue on this process. And maybe at the end of the month, you'll have your CRM system completely done and ready to go. But instead, we want it by the end of the week and nothing happens. And then the story keeps on going of it's going to happen. And then a year goes by, a couple years goes by, and we still don't have a system or a process. So we're going to talk about how to be able to chunk this down. And how this system right here, the system that I created, the system that I've been living by many years, but sometimes forget. Just like I said, I'm going to finish my 12-week targets in a week. I overestimated what I can do in a week. Okay, overestimated. However, it gives me a clear guideline. Now I just need to backtrack. I know exactly what needs to happen this week in order for me to get this done by the end of next week. Now I've extended it. A project that was supposed to take a week is actually going to take a month, and I'm okay with it. Why? Because I am moving forward. I'm progressing every day. I'm not letting the sheer work of what needs to be accomplished overwhelm me. So here we go. We got to ask ourselves, what does a win look like? Okay, so your win might look like, well, I want to finally get an employee. What is it going to happen this week? Highly unlikely. There's too many steps to that. But if we push it back, say, you know what, this is going to happen by January 31st, you're more likely to do it. But again, how long have you gone already thinking that you need an employer, transaction coordinator, and haven't even really pulled the trigger? Many of you have said, I need a transaction coordinator. But there's a lot of work to that. So instead of actually getting the transaction coordinator, we convince ourselves, hey, you know what? It's not so bad. I can do it all myself. So you do. Through the 12 months in 2019, only to realize, oh, I got the same results as last year. Damn it. Or I didn't grow my business as much as I thought. Well, you took that all on. You took on that burden as opposed to giving that burden to somebody else that you can hire. We have great transaction coordinators. I'm not saying that your burden is going to be their burden, but that's what they're here for. They want to do that. That's part of their job. And it's not yours. So let's chunk this down. That's exactly what we're going to do. I already chunked this down. We're going to chunk down how to get your employees by the end of the month, how to get your database running by the end of the month, or maybe by the end of next month, because there's just so many layers. I need you to be very aware of this. This is the first week of 2020, and I need you to start thinking about what would 52 wins look like this year? 52 processes, 52, chunking things down. What does that look like by the end of the year? It's going to look like an incredible year for all of us because we're taking steps to what we ultimately want. Systems and processes and automation and profitability and predictability. These are all great things. So now let's break this all down. So the first thing we're going to ask is to be very specific about what you want. Simply saying, I want to get a CRM up and running, it's not very specific. It's very general. Health-wise, if you say, well, I just want to lose weight, I want to get in shape, that's not very specific. It's very general. But if you say, well, I'm going to go ahead and understand what the different functionalities, right? This system is very robust. I'm going to understand what 5 of those items are. I'm going to understand how to upload people into the CRM. I'm going to understand how to automate their email systems. I'm going to understand how to, maybe customize it, right? Because the system allows me to do all those things. So how about you just learn about 5 things of that system, as opposed to saying, I'm going to get my CRM up and running. And maybe by the end of next week, you'll have your people uploaded, ready to go. But to say in 1 week is just too much. Just like saying I want to lose 12 pounds is way too much. Or losing weight is way too much. But if you say, I'm going to have a target of a pound and a half this week. I'm going to eat less. I'm going to exercise more. I am going to, even get my blood checked. Like, things are very specific at that point, right? So again, very specific about what you want to accomplish. Number 2, is it achievable? It goes back to the quote. We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a month. We overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years. Understand that if you understand what the goal is always going to be in sight. But now we just have to chunk it down. I know what I needed to do for this book. This week, we're just going to go over the insights and revelations. We're also going to number the pages. We're also going to make sure that our spelling is correct. We got to go through so many steps in order to make sure that we deliver a quality product. But I can't be stuck on it's got to be done by this week. It's not going to happen. But we're going to get very, very close. Number 3, it needs to be measurable, setting benchmarks. So again, if you say, I want to create my CRM, but if you don't even have a CRM, how is that even achievable? It's not measurable, right? You don't know how to even upload into the system. So what is measurable? Well, I want to load 10 people into the CRM. Because understand that even if you have a list of 300, which most of you do on your phone alone, you can't say, I'm going to go ahead and decipher through all this by the end of the day. It's not going to happen. But if you say, I'm going to get 10 people deciphered and make sure that I put them into the right buckets, people that engage with me, people that have bought from me, people that don't even know me. Like, if you start breaking this up, you're closer to getting your CRM up and running. So it needs to be measurable. And here's the important thing. You need to understand why. Why is it important that you add this system to your business? Think about it. Adding an autoresponder. Chris, you're one of them. It's done amazing things for you already. It's helped automate. And you're doing things in only your second year of business that most that have been in the business 10 years still hasn't got up and running. But you had clear targets, and now you're using that to your advantage. So now you allow time to flourish. And guess what? You're going to be one of the top producers in the state, period. And in a shorter time frame. Because you understand why it's important to your business. We still want the lifestyle. We still want the predictability and profitability. Those are all reasons why. Having not having a system of how to be able to follow up with your clients is just a hustle. And it's going to limit you. It's going to limit all of us from really knowing what we can achieve in our businesses. So start thinking about why is it important? It's got to be important. Frank, same to you. You understand that the system you bought into is urgent. But what happened? You had so many layers that needed to occur for you to actually implement it. But chunking it down now makes it possible. And not being so hard on ourselves that it didn't get done in 2 days or in a week and saying, hey, by the end of January, it's going to be up and running. But in order to make sure that I'm in line, I got to set small measurable targets or benchmarks, right? I need to make sure it's measurable. So I'm going to write out 5 emails by the end of the week, 1 a day, for my autoresponder system. Then I'm going to learn about how to track my client once they open the email so that I can send them another email about where they're at. So now we're chunking it down to measurable items. By the end of the month, you'll be up and running. Same thing for an employee. Some of you are there right now. You need an employee. But you're start thinking about, well, how am I going to pay them? I don't even know what I need them to do. Right? But you're looking at it from a general standpoint. By the end of the week, just list out 10 things that you think that your employee could do. And then make sure that you have, you start writing out what the qualities you're looking for. And maybe by the end of next week or by the end of the month, you'll have your employee. But again, it's about chunking things down. Start thinking about that. What is it that you want to accomplish for your business? Let's chunk that down. And here's the one of the most important things about all this process, and the only way it'll work, is if you set a hard deadline. Okay? Why? Because it puts things in urgency. It now becomes urgent for you to be able to accomplish it. Same thing we did with our automation. Those that went through the 2-week process went through that automation process, and I said, here is the hard deadline. For the most part, most of you finished it. There was a couple that it became overwhelming. They prioritized other things. They prioritized, just being busy. But I'm going to tell you one thing. When you don't finish the things that you say and you don't get back to it, because there's a few individuals that did all 8 videos but didn't finish the autoresponder system. That weighs heavy on you because it's unaccomplished. You're out of integrity. You said you were going to do something and then completely left it to just sit there with the statement that I'm going to get back to it. But yet it's been 2 weeks, it's been a month since we actually finished the training. You're not going to get more powerful when you leave things undone, unsettled. So if you were part of that process, let's get it done. If you were trying to get your CRM up and running, but got overwhelmed by the process, you're leaking power right now because that was your commitment. So just imagine all these commitments that we have made and yet haven't really accomplished. You're dragging that like a big bag. You're dragging that. It's going to be very hard for you to move and maneuver through your business as someone else who's constantly just checking off the things that they said. So what is it that you've left unfinished? Let's get back to that. Was it the automation system? Let's get it done. Was it the CRM? Were you in the middle of hiring an employee, but then you got discouraged? Did you have an appointment set up with one of our transaction coordinators, but just stop the communication? Let's just get back to that. Because subconsciously, it is slowing you down. It is draining you. You're leaking power. So get back to that. The same things that you talked about at our business planning meeting. Get back to those things. Or the mid-year review 6 months ago. Many of you said that you were going to do these great things, but only got 20% into it. Some of you got 80% into it. It's what's left that's really going to count. So let's get back to that and put that stake on the ground like I've dominated this. That's where the game happens. That's where the fun starts. So what is it that you have unleft? And let's just chunk it down. Because it was overwhelming before, let's get to it. I hope this all makes sense because if you can get a win this week, and then subsequently, every week after this, the big targets that we set for the business planning meeting, it's in the bag. It's going to happen. But if you only have that big goal and don't have measurable items on how to get there, it's going to be a tough road. So things to think about. If you started something, let's get back to it. And this time we're going to go through a different approach. Okay? Don't try to get it all done like this week. Just chunk it down because there's going to be distractions. There's going to be other action items that we have to do as we're going through this list. So if you're breaking down your 300 people on your list, understand that it doesn't have to get done this week, but you can get done maybe 20, and it's a win as opposed to just letting it sit there again. And if you're looking for an employee, hey, listen, maybe just putting out the ad is a step in that right direction as opposed to just thinking about it again. If you've been thinking about farming, simply going on the USPS website and learning what every door direct means is a step in the right direction. But again, chunking down this process is what it's all about. So let me go ahead and get some feedback. And again, I'm going to have a tracking system for you. And the way we're going to give these books this year is we're going to have a special meeting because I'm going to go through the entire process so that you can go through this book and make it the most efficient and profitable year of your life, of your business. It's going to be fun. And as a reminder, if you haven't signed up for an Ignite event on January 24th, do so now. This is going to be an awards ceremony. It's going to be a night of celebration. We already did our targets last quarter in December, last month. So this is all about celebration. This is all about recognition. So sign up. Okay, we have a deadline. And it's going to be a lot of fun. DJ, food, you name it, we'll have it. All right, so what do we get today? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me see. We ended with Jason, Michelle, Dora Lee. Guilty, right? Celia, good morning. Carla, good morning. Teresa, Sergio, let's get it done. Angela Fairley is one of our transaction coordinators. If you've been thinking about that, interview her. We also have Liz Sands here. Interview her. And maybe you need to hire your own. I don't know. But you can't do this all on your own. Good morning, Frank Martin Jr. I used you as one of my examples. Nick, Jeanette, top of the morning to you. Sergio, meeting with you and looking at the big number broken down by quarter was gold. Confidence booster in itself. It really does. Like when you condition yourself to win, the small wins, right? It gives you more confidence. It gives you more certainty. You have more respect for yourself. Listen to what I just said. You have more respect for yourself. When you're able to chunk things down and understand what a win is a day and what a win is in a week, per month, per quarter, and for the year. That's what this is all designed. We all got together, all right, last month, and we knew what we wanted to create for 2020. But now it's a chunking down process, and that is your responsibility. You broke it down per the quarter. Now let's break it down for the week and for the day. What constitutes a win today? Chris, commit to taking the next step that gets you closer to your goal. We committed to weekly email blasts. Learning to use the autoresponder was a huge step towards making that feasible. He's reaching out. How many people do you have on your list? Chris, 300, 200? But just imagine his follow-up process. Let's just give it a small number, 250 or 200. Let's say he has 200 people in his sphere, 200 emails. If he sends out just simply one email per week, he's touching his database 800 times. Can you say the same thing? But he's not sending out 800 emails. He created 4 emails that touched 800 people. Amazing how that works. But there was a process. There was a learning curve. He needed to learn the system. He needed to get frustrated. He needed to make mistakes. But he got it up and running. That's how a foundation happens. 390. You have 390 people. So this is insane. So 390 people that receive his email. He just simply is committed to one a week, right? Is that what you said? A weekly email. 390 times 4. That's 1,560 touches per week. Per month. Per month. 1,560 per month. That's 390 emails. But guess how many emails he actually created? He didn't send out 1,560. He sent out 4 emails. 4 emails sent out to 1,560 people. Who do you think is going to win the battle of the listing appointment? When somebody's been communicating with them on a consistent basis. When not only do they see his email, but they also get a text message from him. Maybe once a month or twice a month. Then he gets a phone call. They get a phone call. And they see him all over social media. Who do you think is going to win that? That's what we need to think about. Is we got to keep our current market share and we got to go after somebody else's. And the only way to do that is to be ruthlessly committed to the consistency of the things that you know will work. Emails will work, text message, follow up, marketing, all that. Great job. The only person that can make you feel defeated the majority of the time is yourself by falling short of doing the work to accomplish your goals. Every time you don't do the work to accomplish your goals, you have defeated yourself and you shrink up inside. There should be nobody more than yourself who wants you to win. So why leave something unfinished and defeat your progress? It does make you feel smaller because the burden is much bigger. Unsettled business all around you. That's such a great point. I mean, they can't even see you. I mean, some of you can't even be seen because you left so much on the table. Now, for those of you that haven't finished the autoresponder system, I'm not mad at you. Just get it done. I was trying to hold your hand through the process. I was trying to hold you accountable. But that wasn't even enough. And it's never going to be enough. I don't care what coach you get, what mentor, what company you go to. If you're unwilling to hold yourself at a greater responsibility than me, than the other person, then it's never going to work. So if you haven't finished, just get it done. Don't wait for somebody else to come in and force you to do it. It's your business. It's going to be your results. Frank Martin Jr., just take action. Don't discourage yourself looking towards the peak at the base of the mountain. So true. Systems are daunting. Automation it's burdensome. It sucks. There's a lot of work to do. But you also have to look at the flip side. You doing all the work also sucks. And that even creates a bigger burden for yourself, for your family, and for your profits. There's always a flip side. Sergio, when is the next autoresponder class? We're going to start one in, I think, the third week of January. And we're going to do this a whole lot different. And we're going to make smaller classes this time. And I really need people more committed than what we had before. This last class, I think I had quite I want to say like 4 or 5 that didn't complete it, at least. And I feel like it's unsettled business. But I got to understand it's not on me. I got to understand that, hey, I mean, my priorities is I got to continue to offer this. But if somebody commits to it and doesn't get it done, that's only going to affect them. But what I'm telling those of you that didn't finish, get it done now. You know exactly. If you need to reach out, I will give you my time to explain to you what's going on. But everything's laid out for you. But I'm going to be shutting down this class here pretty soon. So let's get this done. Sergio, eat an elephant one bite at a time. That's it. That is the mantra for the week. That is the mantra for the day. So first things first, let's look at what we've left unsettled. What did we commit to that we haven't taken the appropriate steps? And now start attacking that, okay? Some of you, it's employees. Some of you, it's firing people. Some of you, is hiring people. Some of you, it's like CRM. Some of you, there's so many things, so many different elements to building a business. But if I acted like the guy that thought I couldn't figure it out, I would still be lost. I would still PE a 5-person team as opposed to 140 strong here. And it's only going to get bigger. Why? Because the systems are being implemented. And my commitment is insane because I have that respect for myself. And I know I live in integrity. You need to feel that way. Let's get on it. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Mindset Mastery. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.